right, thank you very much for this last round of user testing. The first thing I'm just going to ask you is your overall impression of the design. If there's things you like, things you don't like, and just your thoughts about the design in general.
I like the theme. I like the color scheme. Looking at the text and the visuals, everything's easy to read. Everything shows up clearly. I like the oversized graphics on the homepage, and I like the use of the logo. So, in terms of the total design, I'm actually really pleased with it.
All right, now I just want to make sure that it's easy to get to some of the key places. So, would you be able to easily navigate to our ESPN.com homepage from here?
Um, my instinct would be to go to the header and where it says ESPN HQ, hit the drop down and choose ESPN FF Home, and then use that link.
And that would be exactly right. All right, so the next thing I'd like to see if you could do would be to search for a keeper. So, how would you go about looking up to see if a player is eligible to be kept?
So I'd go to the keepers on the menu bar, hit the glyphicon, go to keeper lookup would be my first instinct. Once that loads, I see here a list of keepers done alphabetically by last name. There's a search menu on the right side, so I would type in the player that I was interested in. In this case, I'm going to type in Hilton. I see T.Y. Hilton's name comes up. I notice that it tells me his position, his keeper status, as well as what round he was drafted in last year's draft. I also noticed two boxes next to his name, which I can click and get access to. It appears his player information.
All right, great. So, next, where would you go to find an old draft board? So, if you wanted to see what people had drafted in the past.
I would go to Draft HQ, I would imagine, and under that drop down, I can see that they list all of our past drafts as well as the current draft board.
All right, so it's playoff time right now, so there's certain rules that are only applicable to the playoffs. So where would you go to find the specific rules about playoff rankings?
Um, there is a section on the main menu called League Rules. On that drop down, there's an extensive list of things. There's one of them called Playoff Rules, so I would assume that's probably the most logical place to go.
And if you go there, would that be what you'd expect to find?
Scrolling here, I see seating rules. Yeah, it lists all of the details about how the playoff brackets work.
Great. And finally, if you wanted to get in touch with the commissioner of the league, would you be able to find that from this website?
There is a contact um, choice on the main menu bar, and in there it allows me to email the webmaster or the commissioner. It also uh, gives me the information I would need to connect to the Slack channel.
Great. So the last thing I just want to get your thoughts on are these widgets, which are the chunks of information that you see on the right-hand side of the screen. The first one is a search bar, then there's the latest from Roto World, the latest from Fantasy Football Today, and some Twitter updates. Now, is this information that you find helpful to have on the page? Is it distracting? I just want to get your thoughts about having that information in the sidebar.
Um, I think the information is useful. It's definitely information that all of us in the league use. I am not a huge fan of the layout only because it seems to clutter the pages. There's a lot of information, and this information from these sites is constantly refreshed. And I think it would be easier if there was listed more as like a menu or something that could link to the page. Only because even though this is good information, that these websites are so dense that it can't get the information necessarily that I'm looking for on the specific players. So linking to the page would be more useful. And I kind of feel the same way about the Twitter. This specific person who gives medical information probably tweets 200 times a day, and it only lists about 5 or 6 here on the feed. So I'd end up having to go to his Twitter feed individually, anyways, to find the specific information I'm looking for. So while I think it might look nice to have like a little bit of the feed here, I don't know if it's practical. And there's also some other links that I think would be useful, whether it's the NFL schedule, so I could check bye weeks, or information about targets on a weekly basis for receivers, or touches for running backs. So things that I think if we had a menu there with more links, I think one, it would be more visually appealing and effective, and two, I think it would give us more flexibility.
And I do want to let you know that the NFL schedule and bye weeks are available under the NFL HQ, but I have a feeling maybe that's not as visible as it needs to be. I think that could get lost in that navigation.
Um, yeah, I did notice it, and I assumed that would probably be what's there. But like I said, I think there's almost like a fantasy tools menu that we could do, and that could have information about player availability, injuries, schedules, some stats that I think are relevant. So, and plus, I don't think it hurts on websites to have the same information in multiple locations, because people tend to search for it differently.
Great. So thank you very much. We'll take that under advisement, and I appreciate your time. Okay. So the first thing I just wanted to ask you, if you can navigate to the home page. I'll start at the home page. And what your thoughts are about the overall design. If there's anything you like, you don't like, something you would change.
I really like the headlines from Real World on the side there. I like the FF Today. I've not forgotten. That's really funny. I like the IR tie games. So these are just posts.
So if the commissioner posts anything that would be important to the league, it'll automatically feed into that panel.
Sure. I mean, nothing jumps out that I would immediately change. It looks really nice and easy to navigate. I actually really like the font too, whatever one that is.
So the first thing, would you know how to get to the ESPN League site from here?
I'm guessing you go to ESPN HQ and go to ESPN Fantasy Football Home. And then I'm just going to go drop a levy on before 1. Yeah. Back.
So that's clear enough
Yep,
to you?
yep.
And how would you search for a player to see if he's keeper eligible?
Go to Keepers, Keeper Lookup, and then just go search, go to Miller, Lamar, Captain 2015, keeper eligible is no. Zach Miller is... It's also really cool that it you don't have to type in the full name, like it just does a smart search. I really like that.
So how would you find a past draft board?
Past draft board, you go to Draft HQ, I guess, and go to the 2016 draft.
Exactly. Now, if you wanted to look up the rule about who makes the playoffs and how the playoff seedings are determined, where would you find that?
Go to League Rules, go to Playoff Rules.
And is this, when you get to this page, is this the information you were expecting?
Yes. Yes. First round, remaining round, consolation bracket.
Now,
Yep.
Finally, how would you get in touch with the commissioner from this website?
You go to contact, and you can email the commissioner or do Slack, I guess. Webmaster, I guess, is you probably, right?
Yeah, that would come to me.
Yeah.
And I've been asking people about the widgets, but you already kind of mentioned those, that you're a fan of the widgets on the right-hand side.
Yes. Yep.
Do those two feeds make sense, or is one more helpful than the other?
I mean, I always go to Roto World, so I don't really ever look at FF Today, but they both seem good. How often does this update?
The Roto World one updates every day. The Fantasy Football Today one is a little bit less often. So that's why
Oh, okay, so it's not like real time.
the Roto World one does close to real time. The
Oh,
FF
okay.
Today one doesn't. So that's
Okay.
I think the Roto World probably is going to be more helpful.
Okay, and then it goes right to the site, obviously. Yeah, no, it looks awesome. I am definitely going to use this instead of bugging Nick for who can and can't be kept.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Impression of the overall design. Is it clear? Is there anything you'd change? Anything you like or you don't like?
Okay, looks good. So just keep going through all these things in here?
Yeah, I just meant like the colors and the design, and is it straightforward? Do you understand what is the information being presented to you?
So far, yeah.
Okay. So,
Go ahead.
would you know how to get to ESPN.com from here? Oh, it's not touch.
No, it's not touch?
No, it's not touch. You have to use
Okay.
it. This is like the mouse.
Okay.
So, but you would navigate over to that.
I would
ESPN.
I'd navigate over to, let's see, this guy or?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the ESPN headquarters, would get me to all of that, yeah?
Yeah. How would you search for a keeper?
I'd go over to the keeper, very simple.
So if you click that. And from this page, you'd be able to find.
I could find keepers, position, eligible, what year, draft, kept. Yep, looks like it has everything I would need to know about keepers.
And from this page, that search is actually going to search just this table. So if you did the search here, it's just going to search for what's in the table. So would you be able to find a past draft board? So all the draft boards are stored on the site. Would you be able to find where the draft boards are located?
Would that be part of league history? Is that what that means, or is it in the
It's actually in the
draft
draft.
headquarters?
Yep, but that is a good point that the league history might be misleading as to where the draft history would be. So I'll try and make sure that that's clear.
So
Yes.
draft headquarters would show me all the previous drafts. Okay, yeah.
And where would you go to find a rule about the playoff seeding?
I'd go to the league rules. General league rules. Is that what you said? What, the playoff rules?
Yep.
Going to be in the fourth one, playoff rules. Yeah.
Yes,
Under
and
the league rules.
Those aren't alphabetical right now, and maybe it might make more sense if those were alphabetical. There's not exactly an alphabetical order, so that's something to keep in mind.
Okay. Yeah, that would probably help. Yeah.
And finally, how would you contact the commissioner? Would you be able to do that from this website?
So under contacts. Email the commissioner under email contact. So yeah, you'd be able to contact the commissioner or through Slack or something like that.
And finally, just one last thing. Those widgets are the information that's on the side of the page where it says latest from Roto World and latest from FF Today.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be useful to you, or is it more just busy?
No, that would be useful to me. And also, yeah, anything about other elements of fantasy information, like who's the latest trends on fantasy or something like that. So that would be useful rather than me go look for it. So,
Great. Thank you very much. This was
Okay.
super helpful.
Okay.
So first thing I'm going to ask is what your overall impression is of the design. If there's anything that you would change, anything that you think complicates it, or anything that you like.
I like the design. I like the desktop version better than the mobile version. It's a lot easier to navigate, but having the tabs up top, being able to like the keeper lookup, the keeper archive, having all the different tabs right up at the top and everything that we need to do here is good.
Okay. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is how would you go about getting to the ESPN website from here?
I would go to ESPN HQ and ESPN Fantasy Football Home.
Okay. Okay. And can you go back now to the PFL site? And could you search for a keeper? Or look up a player that you'd be potentially interested in keeping?
Yes. Go to keeper lookups and then search for a player.
Okay. Now, how would you go about looking up a past draft board?
Draft HQ, and then whichever draft, 2002, we look in here.
And does this interface work for you? Is there anything you would change?
No, this works well. So you can even sort by owner, and then so you can see like an entire team's draft in order if you need to, or go by their full regular draft order. This one I just have to click it twice.
Okay, so you have to click it twice to make it work.
Yes.
So, how would you find the rule about playoffs and who makes it and who doesn't?
League rules, playoff rules.
And does this give you the information you were expecting?
Yes.
Sorry.
And finally, how would you get in touch with the commissioner from this website?
The contact function. Email the commissioner on the contact page.
Okay. And just one last impression of the widgets, which are those bits of information on the right-hand side. Are those useful? Are they busy? What's your impression on those?
They're not particularly useful for me because they're general league stories, where I would prefer more team specific.
Thank you very much.